The August 19th, 2015 meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Cayley? Here. Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
Here.
Mr. Tucciarello? Here. Mr. Wilcox? Here. President Adair?
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes. We have one speaker. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. Our speaker is Gary Puddup.
Is there anyone else present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the January 28th, 2015 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk?
Referral 15-0245, the Truth and Impact on Municipal Budgeting Act.
Second. Moved by Legislator Cayley, second by Legislator Wilcox. Is there any, would the makers of the referral care to speak to his referral?
I would. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. First, thank you all for being here. I realize that the Agenda Charter Committee, oftentimes, doesn't have to meet, but when it does meet, it's challenging, and I don't wish this be in any way challenging, so I just want to put that straight up there. So thank you so much. This referral is pretty basic, it's pretty simple, and I'm hoping it's pretty common sense. It's simply designed to provide for greater transparency and, frankly, trust among the different governmental agencies that our county is composed of. I think that many times we work together, we get together, we talk, and when that happens, we may disagree, but we might disagree with knowledge and understand each other, and that's perfectly fine. But I also know there are times when, just through the rush of the ordinary day or our own obligations, if it's a part-time job within governance, or even if it's a full-time, it's a busy one, that we don't always get the chance to talk with each other. We don't always get the chance to bring everyone up to speed. And when that happens, there are times when municipalities or representatives are unaware of impending changes to their tax rolls. And this referral is designed to address that in a very simple and, frankly, nonpartisan way, that when such a change is being considered or when such change is in the process of being made, that simple notification should be made to the effective entities so that if they're going to lose a property on the tax rolls, that they will be made aware of this as soon as possible. And, frankly, it'd be done at no cost. Technically, there'd be a cost. There might be a 50-cent stamp. There would be a very tiny cost involved, but in terms of the goodwill, I think that, frankly, it's a wonderful thing to do, and I would hope that this is something we would see as being a common sense good governance proposal. And so I put it out there for that reason. I don't want to belabor the point. I recognize that we're all intelligent people, and we'll make the choice that we feel is best. But I would ask that of this committee that before the vote, if you feel the need for any reason to vote in the negative on this, that rather than doing that, I would request that you would move to table it to allow for any follow-up discussions regarding any concerns. If there's something that's a concern for a member of the committee that, for some reason you say this would be a problem, I would request that rather than just to vote against it, table it, let me know, and if you table it, I'll take it as a sign that I should come up and say, hey, what's the challenge, and then we can go forth from there. So that's my only real request, that if you feel the need that this is not something that you can support, that if you could table it rather than doing that, I'd appreciate it. So thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that, too.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Is there any discussion? Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Roll call vote needed.
Ms. Cayley? Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
No.
Mr. Tucciarello? No. Mr. Wilcox? Aye. President Adair?
No.
2 to 3. Referral fails. Referral 15-0246, amending Chapter 382, prohibiting cyberbullying.
Moved by Legislator Cayley, second by Legislator Wilcox. Would the maker of the referral like to speak to this?
I would, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to start out by saying, I think our original law had a very laudable intent to protect children from cyberbullying, and that's certainly a goal that all of us share. And I believe we all would concur that we need to do it in a way that's responsible as well as constitutionally permissible. As legislators, when we pass bills, I think we do have an obligation to follow up and see, after we pass them, what's actually happened. Are they doing what we intended them to do? Are they having any effect whatsoever? When we passed Monroe County's cyberbullying law originally in 2012, it was stated, and looking at it, it was very clear that it was very closely mirrored after Albany County's law. And in fact, when you compare the definition of cyberbullying in Albany County to Monroe's, Albany County's has about 75 words, and all but seven of those 75 words appear in the Monroe County law. It's so close, it's practically identical in its definition of what constitutes cyberbullying. I'm not sure if anyone in Monroe County in the past 3 years has been charged under or prosecuted under Monroe County's law. I did ask last summer, but I never received a response to see if anyone has been charged under it. But last summer, the facts are that the New York State Court of Appeals did overturn Albany County's law. They ruled that it was overly broad and facially invalid under the free speech clause of the First Amendment. In the opinion, they discussed the fact that harassing and annoying speech is covered and protected under the First Amendment, as repugnant and repulsive and offensive as a lot of us can find some of that speech. It is constitutionally permissible. Our law is so close, again, almost identical to Albany County in its definition, that it seems that it risks having the same thing happen to it, and that if it were challenged, it could certainly be overturned. In court, in fact, Albany County argued and admitted that its law was overly broad, and it tried to argue that its intent was more narrowly focused on communications that were intended to inflict emotional harm, specifically communications such as sexually explicit photographs, private or personal sexual information, or false sexual information that served no purpose. And the court didn't see that it could rule that that in fact was the intent of Albany County's law, because that's not how it was written, but seemed to leave the window open to say that if the law had been written that way, then perhaps it would be permissible and would be allowed to stand. And so, learning from their experience down the thruway, I figured that we had an opportunity now to improve our law and update it. So, having had 3 years now of experience, we can have a law in the books that, if challenged, would hopefully pass judicial scrutiny and be something that would continue to be, or would be a tool to reduce cyberbullying and have another way of making sure children don't have to experience that in schools and as they grow up. And so I think that we do a lot of things that are well-intentioned, but we also have a higher obligation to not just pass things that are well-intentioned, but to pass bills that are constitutionally permissible and do our best job at doing that. And so I welcome your comments and input this evening. I would certainly hope that you would also see that this would be a good update and improvement to our current law. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Is there any other discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
Through the chairman, I'd like to ask the administration if there's, if we had to use this law yet.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as of 2014, the answer is no. From that period to the current day, we would have to check with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney to see if there's an update.
Okay. So we don't know of any instances off the top of your head where a person's been charged or prosecuted under this law?
No, I'm unaware of any.
Okay, thank you. Through the chairman, if we enacted a bill like this into law, which we did, is the law required to be reasonably clear on what type of conduct of speech it prohibits? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, this is a complex legal matter. So if you have legal questions that you would like for us to follow up on, we'd be happy if you'd submit those in writing, and we'd follow up on that.
Okay. Could we, I'm not sure you can follow up in those in time before we vote tonight, though. That's sort of my concern. If we would not, well, let me ask my colleagues, through you, Mr. Chairman, would my colleagues be willing to not vote against this bill today if we waited for those answers? Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking my colleagues.
Right.
Not the
I'm not sure the
administration.
procedural rules here, how you would carry forward with something that's on the agenda and now
Would my colleagues be willing to entertain not voting against this bill until we receive those answers from the administration? So he'd be happy to vote on it. So would my colleague entertain a motion to table or to vote yes? Okay, so then I'm going to continue. I apologize. I'm going to continue to ask my legal questions. You can maintain that we'll get them in writing, at which point it may serve no purpose, because it sounds to me like we've already decided we're going to vote against this bill without having the legal answers to a complex issue. I'm sure from reading the paper, I've seen that the county attorney spent some time reviewing this law and has intimate understanding of the law, and only after careful review has determined that the existing law meets legal muster. So I thank the county attorney for the time devoted to this important law. Through you, Mr. Chairman, the existing cyberbullying law we have on the book says acts of abusive behavior shall include but not be limited to. Can the county attorney define for me and the public each and every act which would be considered an act of abusive behavior under this law? We've got some delineated, but what are the others not named?
Chair, it would be the same answer as before.
And that means that I would get those in writing after this meeting's over and after we've taken a vote. Is that correct? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, you can submit your questions and you will receive a response.
All right. Let me read from the opinion, Court of Appeals, page 9. I'll answer the question to some extent. A law that is overbroad cannot be validly applied against any individual. In contrast, a statute is seen by the courts as vague if it fails to give a citizen adequate notice of the nature of prescribed conduct and permits arbitrary and discriminatory enforcement. I would argue that this clause in our bill does not meet that standard. It does not meet the standard of being clear so that a citizen has adequate notice of the nature of prescribed conduct and permits arbitrary and discriminatory enforcement. Does the existing law, through you, Mr. Chairman, does the existing law apply to landlines?
Through the chair, if you would submit your questions in writing, you will receive a response.
Mr. Chairman, under the current law, if, let's say, a high school football coach with intent to annoy or over a period of time uses his cell phone to...
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know the line of questioning. We have before us right now an amendment that has been submitted by Legislator Andrews to amend this. I don't believe that we're here tonight to to review the current structure of the law that we have before us. I think that we are here tonight, this body has in front of us a subject matter on an amendment to this. I don't know, I'm not following why we're going through all of that. It's my point of order, it's my floor. I would like to know, I don't see where this is germane to the subject before us, to this committee. Thank you.
I could answer that question, Mr.
No.
Chairman. I know you
Point
do.
of order, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. And we could debate that anyway, so.
Ruling on the point of order?
We can debate that.
We'll rule on the point of order, yes, if you agree with the point of order.
Point, excuse me,
Yes,
the pay
I agree with the point of order.
Mr. Chairman?
We're ruling on the point of order?
Yeah, I would like to say, well, it's a debatable point, so I'd like to continue on the point of order.
Ruling on the point of order?
It's
Then
debatable.
the legislator needs to, at this point, say that he disagrees with it and needs to have a move in a second, and then we can have discussion about it to your decision. That's what
Sure. Well, I don't believe that's actually true. I believe we can, I don't think we need a motion to debate it. I believe we've made.
the chairman has now given the.
I was attempting to debate the point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
You're appealing the point of order.
I'm appealing the point of order.
Legislator Wilcox, I understand all these questions you're asking. However, with the referral that was presented, why weren't these questions, why weren't that presented with the referral? Why wasn't this information made available before this meeting, before the vote?
Excuse me, I'm not sure I understand your question, Mr. Chairman. I believe we're entitled to ask questions that are germane to the bill that we have before us. The bill we have before us is an amendment. The reason for the amendment is the law that we have enacted is unconstitutional based on the fact that it mirrors an Albany law, which the Court of Appeals ruled was unconstitutional. Therefore, it is strictly a matter of the existing bill that we are addressing, because without it, we would not need the amendment.
I'm ruling you out of order. I need to get appealed on the point of order.
I'm appealing.
Do we have a second?
So,
No, roll call vote?
no, now we can discuss it. And my point, and we actually did discuss it. And what I'm trying to convey to you, Mr. Chairman, is that I understand we don't like questioning in this body, and that we attempt constantly to shut it off. But these are very important questions with respect to a law that could potentially put people in jail for speech which is found to be protected under the United States Constitution and according to the highest court in New York State.
Only things you can discuss now is my ruling on the appeal.
Please go ahead. I've already stated why the ruling was in error. It's in error because.
Pardon?
Move to a vote.
Let's,
Move to a vote on the motion. You may.
Mr. Chairman. Mr.
we're
Chairman.
going to move to a vote on.
Wait. I'm sorry. You didn't ask if anyone else had anything to say. He was allowed to say something. The point of order is there, and I believe the point of order has to do with the fact that these questions have nothing to do with what's going on here, and I had something to say. May I?
You have the floor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, just want to make sure the clarification is that the discussion at this point is before us right now, that your ruling has been challenged, and that it is solely on your ruling that we're having the discussion. Thank you.
So you are out of order on discussing the appeal.
Actually, I changed this. I'm challenging your decision on the point of order.
Okay.
All right? Thank you. To you, Mr. Chairman, as to that decision, that the purpose that I feel that in your decision, why it's erroneous, is because allowing the questions to go forward allows information to come out that may or may not. That is why you, waiting for it. You ruled the point of order for the point of order and ruled against the appeal. Those rulings are based on the fact that we are asking questions that the president and member of the committee on the other side does not feel is appropriate at this time.
No, I believe the questions that you're asking have been responded by the administration, and the answer is the same, where we can give those answers in writing. Every question that has been asked, the response was, we'll give those questions in writing. And we will get those questions in writing for you.
But not before a vote will happen.
No.
What an overly broad ruling, excuse me. It just is a little bit ironic.
We're going to bring it to a roll call vote.
Just for point of clarification, Mr. Chairman, we are voting on upholding the rule. Is that correct?
Correct.
And would the clerk like to go over it so that we know that what the yes means and what I know?
Please do.
Yes sustains the ruling of the chair. Ms. Cayley?
No.
Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
Yes.
Mr. Tucciarello?
Yes.
Mr. Wilcox?
No.
President Adair?
Yes.
3-2, the ruling of the chair stands.
Legislator Tucciarello.
Mr. Chairman, going back to the main motion, I would like to ask a question through you to the administration. Does our law department believe that this law is constitutional? Is it their opinion that it would withstand the scrutiny?
Through the chair, our law department has reviewed our current law and the Albany law ruling and determined that at this time, our law does not warrant an amendment.
Back to the original referral.
On 15-0246. 0246. Ms. Cayley?
So open for discussion? Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that was actually one of my questions. At a similar question. I probably was going to be told that I would get it in writing. But I will ask it anyways, because I would like that in writing. I would like to know whether or not you honestly believe this law passes the legal standard that we're talking about here, which is regulating speech, which is a simple form of verbal communication.
Asked and answered?
And I would like that in writing. I'm requesting through you, Mr. Chairman. Could we put that in writing? It's a question.
Asked and answered.
So we can put that in writing? I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what the answer was.
That question's been asked and answered.
And what was the answer, Mr. Chairman?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, that's on the record. It's in the minutes.
So we believe we're going to get that in writing?
That wasn't the...
I just asked that. That was the question I just asked.
The question was asked and answered.
I asked if it would be placed in writing. And I'm sorry, I'm asking again. I'm not clear. Is it a yes or a no?
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to know, through you, Mr. Chairman, to my colleagues on the other side, do they believe that this law applies to such things as landlines?
Mr. Chairman, I'm leaving it to the opinion of the law department. They are legal experts. I am not. I am following what they believe to be true.
Through you,
and I believe in their answer. Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, you don't believe a simple answer that it passes legal muster without understanding what that legal muster is sufficient? Through you, Mr. Chairman?
I believe I am taking what
No, I'm not asking you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to my colleague who just made that statement.
I've answered my question. Thank you. If we go on with further discussion or roll call vote, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to just make a statement then. I'm incredibly shocked that we're not prepared to answer these questions. They're very basic questions. My understanding that a thorough review was done by the reports in the paper by the law department. I would think that that thorough review would mean that the law department would be prepared to answer these very basic questions about a bill that potentially restricts free speech according to the Court of Appeals of New York State.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a statement. Well, it's been since January, so I'm a little rusty, but I'll get back in the saddle with this. I am pleased to see my colleague offering changes to a very well-intentioned piece of legislation that had passed, but since then has been found through the courts to be too broad and overreaching. And it was because of that broadness and overreaching language that I actually voted against it for the original law. So I am happy to vote in the positive to amend this law, and with the expectation that it could be that it could withstand could withstand itself in court. To prosecute a case of cyberbullying, bullying of any sort, social bullying, harassment, exposes both sides to extreme scrutiny, loss of privacy and security. Whether people feel that the person being prosecuted deserves security or privacy or not, they do. And so when you bring a lawsuit against someone or criminal charges, and it can be dismissed because it is overreaching, you have exposed both sides of this lawsuit, of this court action to be exposed to a great extent and needlessly, because you realize that it will not hold up. So I would ask that we vote positively for this and go forward with a local law that will be able to withstand scrutiny and protect people that we all want to be protected. And in the terms of landline, I believe that landline actually would be included if you were going landline access for internet and not cable. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote on the referral, please.
Ms. Cayley. Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
No.
Mr. Tucciarello?
No.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
President Adair? 2 to 3, referral fails. Referral 15-0256, confirmation of appointment and reappointments to the Monroe County Recycling Advisory Committee.
Moved by Legislator Tucciarello, second by President Adair. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Referral 15-0264.
Moved by President Adair, second by Legislator Tucciarello. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 15-0266, enact a local law.
Moved by Legislator Tucciarello, second by President Adair. Is there any discussion? Legislator Tucciarello.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Agenda Charter Committee issue a formal report pursuant to Section 545-23A of the County Code on a proposed amendment to Referral 15-0266.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Vote needed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. you're just trying to rush things through, you know? Correct. Yeah, we're voting on the issuance of the report. All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
I now move that the report being issued includes the following amendment, which has just got passed out by the staff.
Do you have a second?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment I'm proposing modifies the specific legislative actions required portion of the referral. This section will include a detailed outline of the additional rent revenue sharing to the county for the number of annual qualified waste tons in accordance with the following sliding scale percentage formula. Therefore, I move to submit the proposed amendment as a formal report to the full legislature.
All those in favor? Oh, excuse me. Not that I didn't want you to speak, Legislator Wilcox. Any discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
We have a moment, Mr. Chairman, to review the amendments since we haven't had a chance.
Absolutely.
Usually we share amendments.
Yep. Discussion? Legislator Tucci-Rao.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Monroe County will secure a place for our solid waste for the next 32 years as we expand the Mill Seat landfill. When Mill Seat was open, tipping fees were twice as high as they are today. The opening of Mill Seat prevents trash disposal rates from increasing to local residents. So Mill Seat landfill is a good thing for our community. Speaking specifically to this amendment, it takes and puts a revenue on the first ton right through to the last ton of every qualified waste ton that gets dropped into Mill Seat landfill. In every way through the permitted amounts of qualified waste, which is 0 to 776,250, we get paid better amounts than the original referral that was put in front of, put in our packet last week identifies as. So this is a better deal for Monroe County than what was proposed. And as I said, the part about it that I really like is that it pays us for every ton of qualified waste, right from ton 1 right through to the maximum permitted amount. So I would ask today that everyone support this. It's a great deal for the residents of Monroe County and a great deal for Monroe County also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
Thank you for that explanation. Through you, Mr. Chairman, could somebody just tell us, because I'm not opposed at all to the change. I just wonder what transpired within the last week or so that that we were able to get this change.
Mr. Chairman, when I saw this referral come out, I wanted some more information on it. I wanted to be able to fully understand it. After doing so, I made some suggestions and recommendations. The administration was helpful in going back to the table and looking to secure those changes and recommendations, and that is what you see before you today. And I believe that myself, my colleagues on this side of the aisle, Waste Management and the administration are all happy with these numbers.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. Again, I apologize since we're seeing this amendment for the first time, and again, I would love to take my colleague at his word, but I've often asked for things and not received them or been told incorrect information. This specific referral or amendment seems to be addressing, sorry, do you have it in front of you? Change in percentages. Can you point out in the referral before us where those percentages are listed that we're changing?
This is just a report. It's not an amendment until it goes to full ledge. This is a formal committee report.
I'm sorry, I apologize. What's the committee report? I apologize. This, what you're handing us, this amendment?
The amendment is a formal committee report to go to full legislature to be voted on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion?
I would just note that it is out of order in the committee agenda, but that's all.
Okay. Legislator Cayley.
Thank you. Almost rolled your eyes.
No.
I said you almost. Thank you. He's fine.
No, Legislator Cayley has the floor.
I got it. If I could ask you through the chair to Mr. Garland, because he was very helpful today in talking to us about this particular issue. How does this fit into the presentation that you gave us today?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what this change is relates to the top two bullets on page 2 of the referral, which is the formula that I presented to you today that showed corresponding savings.
Thank you. And then through the chair, does it change the rate of return in any way? Through the chair?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in my professional opinion, this makes what I presented a good deal even better. It does increase the return. It provides, I would say, characterized as protection on the bottom end, although we haven't seen tons that low. I recognize that the life of the landfill goes up to 2050, so this is an improvement to what was presented to you today.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Since this is out of order, I would actually rule that we not accept this at this time and wait till we have a better understanding of exactly what's being presented to us.
I'm ruling on the point of order. I'm going to vote no.
So you think this is in order?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It follows the rules of the county committee
Excuse me,
report.
according to the agenda that we have before us, accepting reports?
Sure.
Can we move to a vote on this now? I think we've done
Yes,
everything. Let's move to a vote. If
We're voting on a point of order?
nope, we are voting on a point of order.
We're voting on the
Point of
referral.
order was denied, is that correct?
Point of order was denied, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
So now we're going on.
I appeal
Let's
the
move on to
ruling
vote.
of the chair.
appeal of the point of order is denied.
No.
There is in the rules of the county, there's, pardon? Yeah. Yes abstains the appeal.
Yes sustains the ruling of the chair. Ms. Cayley? Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
Yes.
Mr. Tucciarello? Mr. Wilcox? President Adair? 3-2, ruling of the chair stands.
Back to the referral. We're not. It's. We're voting. We're voting on the motion of the committee report. Amendment. Oh my God. Roll call vote.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Based on the answer that I got from Mr. Garland with regards to the rates, I am not saying that it's not a good deal, not a bad deal, but based on that, why would this not be an amendment, not a report, but an amendment to the referral, placed into the referral, not just relegated to be stapled to the back as a report, which is making everything extremely confusing?
Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair for an answer.
Legislator Tucciarello.
We don't make amendments in committees. We make amendments in full legislature. In committees, we make reports. And that's what this is, a report to the full legislature to be voted on at that point in time.
Then,
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, that's actually not true. We can make an amendment to any bill at just about at any time.
We have a vote on the committee report. Yes. Roll call vote on the committee report.
On the motion, Ms. Cayley?
Can't stop during a roll call vote.
Ms. Cayley? No. Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
Yes.
Mr. Tucciarello? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? President Adair? Yes. 3-2, motion passes.
Now back to the original referral. Roll call vote. Any further discussion? On the main motion. On the main motion, not on the committee report.
what, where do we, excuse me, through the chairman, where do we stand on votes, please?
We're
before
voting
we
on
roll
the,
call
we're
anything?
voting on the referral right now.
All right.
Roll call vote.
On the main motion, Ms. Cayley? No. Dr. Quattro is excused. Chairman Rocco?
Yes.
Mr. Tucciarello? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? No. President Adair? Yes. 3-2, referral passes.
Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the August 19th, 2015 meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee will be held on Wednesday, September 30th, 2015, 5:30 p.m.